Hello again, everyone, and welcome back to Reddit Aliens. I'm John, and as always, thank you so much for being here. Good topic, a little messy, let's do it. What pant-shitting paranormal experience have you had? Please remember to like, share, and subscribe. I dated a girl who lived in the house Aaron Burr hid in after killing Alexander Hamilton. I always said ghosts were BS, but that place was haunted AF. Middle of the night, nobody else in the house but us. I'd hear footsteps, hear whispers, and see shadows moving room to room. Doors would open and close. Shit would fall off shelves. One night I was playing with her dog, rolling a tennis ball into the next room, and the dog was rolling it back. Bounce, bounce, nothing for a few seconds. Bounce, bounce, ball comes back. I did that for like 15 minutes before I realized the dog was behind me asleep. Then the door slammed. I went straight home. My mother-in-law insisted that her house was haunted, and she kept seeing this creature which looked like a dog walking upright. I have a science education and was in the middle of trying to explain to her many possible explanations for what she has seen when a ghostly dog-like figure standing up ran across upstairs, which was visible from where we were talking. I had no more words to say that night. When I was around 20, I was asleep in the middle of the night. I woke up and saw a floating, transparent body about 3 feet away from the bed. I assumed I was still dreaming, but it was disconcerting that my cat was sitting next to me, hyper-focused in the same direction. I closed my eyes hard and reopened them. The ghost, or whatever it was still there when I opened my eyes again. I said out loud, "What do you want?" Just as I said that, my cat leaped into the ghost with splayed legs, like it was hell-bent for leather. Love a little rawhide reference. Also like protective cats that fight ghosts. Cool. When I was 6, my family lived in Germany. Dad was in the army. In the middle of the night on July 6, 1980, I walked into my parents' bedroom and said, "Uncle Darryl said I'm sorry, and I love you." My parents figured I was just having a dream. A few minutes later, the phone rang. It was my grandfather calling us from the US to tell my dad that his brother had just taken his own life. Our family cat was quite old and pretty sick. My sister was leaving the country for like 6 months. The cats bonded with her as a kitten, and she picked him up the day she left and told him to wait for her to come home. He passes like a month later. For the next 5 months, he haunted the house. You hear him run up and down the stairs, push doors open. It was like he was still there. This happened until my sister came home. Then it happened once more for her, and that was that. Little guy waited. I did events at a heritage home and was often there late at night after weddings. I was trying to close up, and doors kept unlocking and opening, setting off the motion sensor, etc., which prevented me from setting the alarm to leave. I called the cops thinking maybe it was some wedding guests playing games or hiding in closets or something. They combed the whole house with me, and the same things were happening. I finally said, "I just want to go home," and everything stopped. When my grandmother was a teenager, her little sister made plans to go out with some friends. The night before the plans, my grandmother dreamt that my deceased great-grandfather came to her and warned her not to let her little sister go out the next night. My grandmother stopped her little sister from going, and obviously little sister was pissed, but she ended up not going. The friends she was going to go out with got in a very serious car wreck and were severely injured. I don't think they ever discussed it with each other ever again after that. My folks and I lived right at the edge of a fairly big national forest. The back 4 acres or so of our property were fenced in so the dogs could run, but they constantly found ways out, and we had to patch holes or fill in digs. This had gone on for months and was just part of the life now. One night I was getting home fairly late. As I got out of my car, my pappy hollered from somewhere in the woods along the fence, "Hey, since you're home, can you come give me a hand?" The person I was on the phone with heard him and said they'd let me go since it sounded like I had a fence to fix. I hollered back that I was going to set my stuff in the house and I'd be right there. When I opened the door to set my stuff down, Pappy was sound asleep in the recliner in the living room. As soon as I saw him, every hair on me stood on end. I practically dove inside, shut the door, and slammed that deadbolt home like I was trying to drive it into the door frame. I don't know what was calling me from the woods, but I know it definitely wasn't my dad. I worked at a grocery store bakery. and my coworkers told me it was built on a burial ground. I rolled my eyes. Yeah, okay, right. Well, when I was baking cookies, I was waiting for the alarm that was about to go off when, swear on my life, a hand that was white like a sheet was reaching for my shoulder. I felt a chill run through me as I jumped like a foot in the air and did a spinning kick to nothing. I had a few experiences there, but nothing that terrified me as bad as that, even when I swore I saw a man staring at me. The thing that made the moment scare me was that back in high school, my BFF and I were walking down a hall and a hand came between us, white as a sheet, and we turned to nothing. My family has a property in Greece. When they first started building on it, my 2 sisters, 2 friends, a pair of brothers, and I all shared a room. One night, the 2 other boys and I stayed up talking about who knows what, and we all swear we saw a monk floating above us. We made up a whole mythology around this, which definitely flavored our childhood. Fast forward many years, I'm a young adult hanging out with my dad on the property. By this point, I strongly doubted we saw anything and chalked it up to active youthful imagination. He started sharing details about the property. That entire area used to be monastic lands. In fact, when they were digging foundations, they uncovered monk tombs. Do with this information what you will. Not the most terrifying experience I've had, but a group of 5 of my teenage friends and myself saw a lady walking up a country road one day. We were all stuffed in a little car, but it's a rural area of Kentucky, and this was the early 90s, so we stopped to ask if she was okay. This lady was solid until we pulled up to her, and it was almost like she was flickering in and out of this plane of existence. You could see the trees behind her through her, and she was dressed in typical working clothes of a farmer's wife from the 1900s, apron and printed dress, hair in a plain scarf. The kid closest to the window in the back seat practically squashed me trying to put distance between themselves and the apparition, but we honestly didn't want to be rude, even to a ghost. She asks us if we had seen Thomas, who apparently was her son, and had to walk to town for milk. Town was at least 15 miles away. The older kid driving offered her a ride, even though there was no room, and she said no, didn't want to be a bother, and Thomas should be back shortly, but thanked us for the offer. Whole time she's flickering between see-through and solid. We part ways and the boy up front in the passenger seat was panicked. He kept saying she was invisible, over and over. Everyone in the back seat is crying. We couldn't believe we saw that in broad daylight. Once we get back to town, no sign of Thomas on the way, we go to the park to collect ourselves. I was mad at the driver for stopping and wanted to know why the hell he would have offered a ride to a ghost. He said an old-timer had told him a story about a lady asking for rides on the road, and if you refused her, you would wreck and die in the next curve, so he offered her a ride. We were so disturbed by this whole thing, none of us spoke about it again for 10 years outside of an occasional, "Did that happen?" That's probably the 5th most terrifying experience I've ever had, but it's validating because there were so many of us. I don't even want to mention the other stuff because I don't want to invite anything. If this happens and you come upon a ghostly woman looking for someone, offer a ride. It's not like she's going to take up any space, right? I was in this forest that's part of a place called the Bridgewater Triangle, which is one of the most haunted areas in the United States. I was in a specific part of it called Profile Rock with 3 of my friends. We were out there late. It was about 2:33 a.m. at the time. We were on our way out, walking down this long winding path to get back to our vehicle. Keep in mind, it was pitch black out, pretty much, and we could only see from the moon shining through the trees. I don't know why I turned around. I didn't hear anything, and I didn't feel like anything was following us, but I turned around and looked in back of us, and I saw something running at us about 100 feet away. What scared me wasn't that something was running at us. It was how it was running at us. You know how a zombie walks in a horror film, like dragging its leg, almost limping? That's how this thing was running at us, like it broke its ankle or something. Initially, I thought it could be someone who got injured in the woods or something until I saw this thing run past the moonlight. And you know how a child draws a person as a stick figure? That's exactly how this thing looked. It had no facial features and no face, just a completely blank face like a stick figure, and its body looked the same from what I could see, no definition or anything. I called my friend that was closest to me out in a panicked voice. He glanced in the direction I was looking, which was now all moonlit area, and I could tell by his facial expression that I wasn't seeing things. We both took flight and started running. My other two friends were up ahead and shot around and asked us what's wrong, to which I replied, "Just effing run!" I didn't look back once until we were right near our car, and it was gone, like it was never there, even though by then it would have certainly been on top of us. I'll never know exactly what the F that was, but I did Google black stickmen sightings on Google and was horrified to find out that multiple people all over the world have seen something just like it. Sometimes the unknown is better left unknown. I was home alone and saw a dark shadow of a woman climb up the stairs and go down the hallway and vanish into the wall. It was absolutely jarring because my aunt used to live in that house and heard the woman all the time. I used to pet sit for her all the time and never saw or heard anything. My parents moved into the house after my aunt moved out, and that's when I finally saw the woman, and they didn't take me seriously and thought I was trying to scare my younger siblings. My aunt had to tell them the house was haunted. Some friends and I were dared to spend the night in an abandoned building near our hometown. I believe it was either a schoolhouse or a church. Nothing too creepy at first, just a few rooms where the hair would stand up on the back of your neck or you felt like you were being watched. After the sunset, we began hearing full-on mumbled conversations and children laughing in rooms other than the ones we were sitting in. More than a little unnerving, but we tried to stick it out. Right about midnight, I go out for a piss and come face to face with a man bleeding from his eyes and ears with a noose around his neck. Piss my pants and scream my head off. Dead sprint back to my buddy's car. They come noping out of the building, having had a similarly terrifying experience with a shadow that spoke with a little girl's voice. Haven't been anywhere near it since. 14 years old, went to Gurnersbury Park on the Underground, London, UK, with some friends, messing around in an old turret ruin at the Undercroft. There was a stone spiral staircase leading to nowhere, blocked off by modern concrete, so it was pretty dark, even in summer sunlight. 4 of us out of a group of 6 swear blind to this day we saw a naked, dirty, disembodied foot suddenly appear on the lowest step of the blocked stairwell, ran like F and never ever went back. New pants, please. I used to see a figure of a little child peeking around the corner of our hallway, usually while I was watching TV alone late at night. I could only see it in my peripheral vision. When I looked, it had be gone. I had 2 little boys, so I first figured it was them, but they were both sound asleep. Kept seeing it and rationalized it was just the TV reflecting on the lenses of my glasses. Went on for a few weeks. Never told anyone as I figured there had to be a rational reason. I was with my wife in our car. I mentioned to her what I'd been seeing. She goes silent and says, "Oh my God, you see it too?" I had to pull over and ask her to explain. She basically explained to me exactly what I'd been seeing. Chills. Strangely, after we admitted what we'd seen, never saw it again. I mean, a couple that sees ghosts together stays together, and it looks like you solved your problem. Good. In high school, my friend told me her house was haunted. I thought she was paranoid. One night I stayed over. We were up playing video games late into the night. At some point I needed to pee, so I walked across her house to the bathroom. In the living room, her little sister's toys were scattered in the floor. The TV was still on, with the volume muted. There was a naked doll laying on the floor. One of those dolls that talk when you press its stomach. When I walked past the doll, it immediately said, "Hi, wanna play?" Very weird timing for it to say this to me as I entered the room, but I told myself that toys malfunction sometimes and it was nothing. I continued to the bathroom as the doll continued to rattle off different phrases it was programmed to say. I could hear it still speaking while I was in the bathroom. I still feel a little weirded out and decided to wait for it to stop talking before walking back to my friend's room. It did not stop talking. So I mustered the courage to walk back through the living room, past the doll once more. This time when I walked by, it said, "Bye-bye." So I ran the rest of my way back to my friend's room. I don't know if that was actually paranormal or not, but it certainly made me want to shit my pants.